right, and we are back. Philipe Laurent from EasyLive has been a partner of PTZOptics for a long time. We're actually using this service now to do some cloud-based streaming. Philipe, how are you doing?
Pretty good, and you? How are you?
Doing great. This has been a very interesting time for the streaming industry. It seems like the perfect time for people to start learning about cloud-based video production. Your service, EasyLive, we're using now. One of the reasons why I really love it is it allows you to bring in RTMP streams from multiple scenarios. It could be a live view solo. It could be a wirecast or an OBS. It could be a game PC streaming, and you can mix all of those into one cloud-based streaming platform, restream it to anywhere you want. I've been impressed for a long time, Philipe. You sent me a video you wanted me to show. We need
Correct.
you to do that via Zoom. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So
No
if
problem
you
at all.
want to
Yeah, I'll
pull
do it.
that
Yeah.
up, Mike's gonna back down your gain. You did that? Okay. All right. Go ahead, Philipe. Take it away. Tell us about your company and cloud-based streaming.
Yeah, sure. So before showing the video, for just bouncing on what you just said, so we basically at EasyLive have two core services. One is basically a virtual mixer, fully cloud-based that runs on AWS, where you can ingest multiple live sources. We support actually every protocol. So you can do basic RTMP. We support SRT also, transport stream, ZXE, WebRTC, HLS, really every type of protocol, and it works as a push feed or as a pull. So you can have both scenarios. And with this mixer, basically, you can add live sources, obviously, VODs, graphics, logos, overlay, and do all your mixing in the cloud, either like manually or using our hotkey system, which is like macros, basically, where you predefine, a group of media or assets, and you trigger your keys and just, switch from one scene to the other one. Then it goes to the second core service at EasyLive, which is our distribution hub, where we do like an enterprise level, basically multi-streaming platform where we can basically go to multiple destinations in multiple protocols at the same time in multiple bitrate, multiple format, and we guarantee the delivery. So we guarantee the frame rate delivery. We guarantee also that if your source dies, we trigger automated backup on each of our source, basically. So it's really enterprise level, basically, restreaming capability. So also regarding the hacks you mentioned, so there are two scenarios I like to share today with your audience. The first one is regarding basically a first hack our customers did. So a couple of months ago, we did an upgrade on our platform, and so basically our customers were playing multiple VODs, a part of their workflow, either when there was like a break time, for example. So they were either uploading VODs or playing them from an external URL. And we saw that they were using our hotkey system basically to trigger multiple VODs, like queuing them up basically. And so we understood basically that those customers were expecting a cloud service to perform like automated playlist feature. And so this was the first hack we observed among our customers, how they were using our solution in the cloud to not rely on the local computer or local ISP to use automated playlist. And so we developed actually for NAB. That was a product we were supposed to announce at NAB. So we announced it last week or 2 weeks ago. It's an automated playlist feature. And so that's what the video I wanted to share with you today. So let me share the screen.
Cool. Let's take a look.
So you should see my screen now.
Yes, we can.
So basically you see here our UI where people basically upload VODs. You have layers where you can upload up to 8 video source. So they were uploading basically all those VODs and manually switching from one VOD to the other one. So it was not seamless. You could have automated using our APIs, but that's a bit advanced for most users, basically. And so that's how we came basically with our automated playlist feature. And so with the playlist, the way it works, it's very easy. So on one layer, you add an input and you have a playlist, basically. So you add your playlist and you can add, for example, all your clips, all your VODs. There is no restriction in terms of size or time limit or quality. And you upload everything, you hit the play button, and you play out automatically up to 24/7 your content, just like a linear channel, basically. And everything runs in the cloud, so you don't rely on a local computer, on your local ISP. So you can leave things running Everything is fully automated, and again, you don't rely on your local assets. So if anything goes wrong locally, you don't care because everything runs in the cloud basically. So that's the first hack basically we noticed basically among our customers. The second hack I wanted to share with you basically, am I sharing still? Yeah, the second hack I wanted to share with you, that's so everyone basically saw the Zoom the Zoom part basically where everybody wants to do Zoom today because Zoom it's a very good product basically. It's very easy to adopt for everybody. But in terms of production workflow for the producers, it's missing some stuff basically, especially in terms of video return, having like a party line on the side where if you want to have like IFBs for example, etc. etc. And so we developed at EasyLive.io a remote guest capability that works similar than Zoom basically, where on your layers, you can bring basically remote guests. So those remote guests, you can invite them by sharing an URL, by email or by text. It works on iOS, it works on Android, on PC, Macs, and Linux. And when you share this URL, you can configure everything for your remote guest. And so it's very easy. Basically, you can have, for example, um, I don't know, guest one, guest two, a host. You can share like a Zoom feed if you want. You can bring your playlist. And so this way, your remote guest, when they open their URL, they arrive on this landing page, they start and join. And you see here that you can have very easily your guest where you can have a real-time chat, just like with Zoom. You can see your program feed. If you need, for example, to dub over content in real time, you just click on the full stream mode and you can have in full HD up to 1080p at 60 frames per second your video feedback to dub over the content. So this is actually very useful, especially for the gaming industry. We have a lot of enterprise level customers who use that around the world to commentate in multiple languages in real time. And so, yeah, we can really easily, have like a bunch of remote guests, like talking to each other and having all the video returns that you want. And getting back to the IFB part that I mentioned earlier, we saw that demand among our customers where the producer needed basically to chat with the remote guest in real time, but not having like a separate workflow and not having his audio being heard basically in the program feed. And so we saw a second hack that what they do is one of the layer they add a virtual source where basically you add your audio only. And so you, the producer or the technical director, the TD, you just add here, for example, your audio. And when you start sending it, you can force, as you can see here, your remote guest to hear yourself. And basically only them will be able to hear you. And so they were just, using a hack to create an IFB built in within EasyLive. And so that's a very great feature that we saw, just, before NAB, we're supposed to start 1 or 2 weeks ago. And so, yeah, we saw like a big demand, for this type of workflows among the production world.
Cool. So we wanted you to tell us a little bit about. Looks like you covered everything. So we talked about NAB and the new features that you were releasing. You talked about some of the hacks that folks are using. Tell me a little bit about how COVID-19 has changed your business. It seems like everybody who has a service on the cloud, cloud-based services are really thriving right now because it's what the world needs in a way. Access
That's
without
correct.
the need for physically being anywhere. Tell us a little bit about some of the use cases that you're finding.
No, that's correct. Like business has been booming over the past 3 or 4 weeks, basically. People being locked down at home with the personal computers and local unstable ISP, especially that I think everybody has noticed around the world that network are congested with everybody being at home and fighting for the internet for the for the Zoom calls. So indeed, everybody wanted their basically their production to be moved to the cloud. So we saw that in every industry. Gaming, obviously, a lot in the sport area. Sport, we saw, like, for example, all our existing sport customers, since every venue is shut down, there is no more games, basically. And so all our customers around the world, what they do is they play out former footage that they have from their games, for example. And so they use our playlist feature for that. and they bring remote guests, so alumni of the team or like current player, to dub over basically those games. And they use our distribution platform to simulcast to all the platform, to keep activating their audience online. So this has been a big use case, for example, for our existing customer. With the draft also coming for the NFL, we had a couple of NFL franchise who onboarded with us also, to produce the draft that happens this week. And so those guys being locked down out of their studio capabilities, they are using EasyLive.io to produce the entire show for the draft, starting the 23rd this week.
Very, very cool. So tell us just a little bit more about the history of your company, Philipe, for those folks who just, give us an overview of who EasyLive is. And just, I know you went really deep into the hacks, but let's step back. Let's step back for a second. Let's take a look at your product. Let's do a little switching, some cloud-based switching. Let's add some graphics. It's almost like you've got a full video production software in your web browser. So let's step back. Show us what this puppy can do.
Of course. So again, the first core feature that we have, it's our studio in the cloud. So everything runs on AWS. There is no limit in terms of scalability. So you don't need to have specific skills, on how to implement an AWS server. We take care of that for you. And that's seamless. It's one button to click. We allocate you the machine. You have the studio. You just need to upload your graphics and bring your live sources, and you're good to go. So it's very seamless, very easy. You have basically the way it works. We have a similar logic than Wirecast, where you have a preview, a program. You have layers basically where you can bring multiple graphics, live sources, VODs, HTML overlays. So, all the bells and whistles that you need in production, basically. And you can build like more complex workflow using our hotkeys. So you see, for example, here I have a use case where right now on my program, I'm publishing, a one box with full screen of myself, where I'm using my phone actually here to capture. So that's a remote guest, feature that I'm using with my mobile, with my iOS phone, to bring me like on screen. And right now, I've prepared here in my preview my next scene. That would be, for example, two boxes. So let's imagine like ourselves right now, where I have, for example, a host interviewing like a remote guest. And so you can preview everything, and then basically you can switch in the program to the other capability.
Yeah, I'm such a big fan of the way that you have set this up, because it really makes cloud-based switching super helpful. We've been using this, for example, now the other thing that you just can't do with a regular switcher is you can have multiple RTMPs in. So, sometimes we'll switch from one production system to another, like I mentioned earlier, from a production system to a live use solo. And it always really makes people go, wow, how did you do that? This is incredible.
So yeah, basically, especially with LiveView Solo, so we have a very strong partnership with our friends at LiveView, and so we have a native integration with their Solo product. So when you go to your LiveView Solo app, for example, under the destinations, you have EasyLive.io listed. So you just need to click on it, log in with your EasyLive.io credentials, and we will get your feed like seamlessly. So there is no RTMP to copy paste. It's very easy to use. So you just click here on add and input, and you can see here all the things you can add among your layers. And for live sources, you can bring WebRTC, so real-time communication feeds. As encoder, as a push, you can bring any type of RTMP. So you have especially LiveView here. And we also support SRT as a push. So you can bring high vision encoder, AV West encoder, OBS, the latest that they did. And so you can be done to 20 milliseconds delay, basically using SRT protocol, which is very good, when you need to be very, very, with very few delay, in your workflow. And then if you need to have like more broadcast quality feeds, you can pull, for example, HLS, Dash, you can pull SRT from like any media hub that you find with High Vision or AVOS, for example. We can bring a transport stream, every declination of it, etc. And so you can switch this way easily from one feed to the other one, picture in picture or full screen. It's very easy. So see if I want to switch back to, for example, here myself. So you might have seen Mario behind. I put a picture in case my feed goes down. That's the fallback. But basically here you see you can be back as you want from like full screen or peep, and that's very easy. And once you have your program set here, you go here into our distribution hub. So that's the multi-stream capability I was referring to earlier, where you can have your quality up to 1080p at 60 frames per second. So that's ideal for the esports and gaming world. We have no limitation in terms of bitrate. So you can go up to 40 or 50 megabits per second in terms of delivery, especially if you need to send it back to an MCR. And then you see from the same format, you can have multiple qualities, each quality going to a different destination. So I don't know if the audience is aware of that, but basically when you go to Facebook or YouTube or Twitch or Twitter, they have different specification basically for the live source they expect. And if you don't match basically the quality they expect, you lose audience mechanically. So for example, Facebook upgraded recently. They support up to 1080p. When you work with registered partners like ourselves, for example, you can go up to 1080p at 4 megabits per second. That's their recommendation. Twitter going at 1080p, it's a bit overkill. You know, people are on mobile and they don't offer like transcoding capabilities. So lowering the quality for Twitter is really advised if you want to have a good retention rate and a good audience size basically on Twitter. And that's what basically EasyLive.io allows for that.
Wow. Everyone is saying how excited they are to see this production tool. I something that I've always loved and used actually with your product is the redundancy stream. So once you're streaming to the cloud, if something happens, if your live view runs out of battery or your internet goes down, in the cloud, the internet never goes down, or at least if it does, we've got bigger problems. So
Yeah.
you can set up a video or a picture to still stream to YouTube and Facebook, Twitter, wherever you're streaming, so that your stream never goes down.
That's correct. And actually you can customize that on easylive.io. We provide a default static image, and you can basically customize it by the image of your choice, a looping video, or even better, if you have like, let's say, a live view backpack, you know, as a secondary encoder and ISP locally, you can send us like a secondary live source. So this way, if your primary feed die, your local live view backpack could be basically, you know, your fallback automatically. And so that's we have a lot of customers using basically live view backpacks. You know, they have one primary and one fallback. This way, if anything goes wrong, they switch from one to the other one automatically.
Very, very cool. All right, guys. It has basically that's been our time. Thank you so much, Philipe, for being with us. Give us just 60 seconds. Stick with us. Philipe is going to join our Zoom Zoom breakout session. Again, if you join that session, join with your real name so everyone can get to know each other. We've got a great group of folks joining the hackers room, the Zoom hacker room. So we'll see you guys in just a moment. Stick around. HuddleCam HD is up next with Matthew Davis.